Cryforth, once home to the most wondrous kingdom the world had ever known, blasted to nothing in just a fortnight. It is here that the fiends of hell walk among us. It is here where all things die. Welcome to Cryforth. Demon invaders roam the landscape and have conquered all. The world is a ravaged and wrathful wasteland, where the old world lies buried beneath the blood and sand with its gods and its secrets. Water is fought over with blood and steel. Compatible with the 5th edition of the world's oldest fantasy role-playing game, this book contains all new character creation options, including all of the familiar classes with new aspects befitting the ravaged wastelands of Cryforth, along with new backgrounds, subclasses, spells, feats, and so much more. New races will allow you to play as the cursed Ash Elves, the Forsaken Humans, the Primordial Incarnate, the Proud Orcs, the Reptilian Suri, or the Infernal-Blooded Tieflings. New game mechanics such as blood, grit, and effort give your games an intense focus on lethality and survival. Numerous role tables full of ideas to help bring your games to life. Featuring incredible thematic art by Brandish Gilhelm of Runehammer Games, as well as Lloyd Collins. The people of Cryforth are not heroes. In Cryforth, it is courage just to survive. Will you rise to face the tide of demons, or will you succumb to the hostile elements? Available now on DriveThruRPG.com.
A mysterious death curse washes over the land, driven by a powerful artifact known as the Soulmonger. 4 would-be heroes have been sent to the jungles of Chult to destroy the cause of this terrible affliction. Vale, the half-elven paladin, who's just now learning of his divinely granted powers. Ubo, the total monk from a distant land, who's as quick with his wit as he is with his staff. Relinia, Asimar warlock, sent on this quest by Hotella, discovering herself in this strange new land. And Gunslinger Cole, tiefling artificer and archaeologist who may just dig up more than she bargained for. This motley band of adventurers must work together to brave the poisonous plants, venomous monsters, thundering dinosaurs, and rotting undead of the jungle. Join the omnipotent dungeon master Jake from Mini-Terrain Domain to see if our heroes can find the Soulmonger, uncover the deeper mysteries of Chult, and free the world from the death curse. Welcome to the jungle. Welcome to Chult of Personality.
Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini-Terrain Domain, and this is the Tomb of Annihilation Chult of Personality. And this is episode 30. Currently titled Firefinger 2, because apparently I can't come up with creative titles anymore. They're still in the Firefinger. I'll probably come up with a better title when I make the title card. In the meantime, this episode is called Firefinger 2. And we are going to get to a recap here shortly. Looks like we have everybody present tonight to continue our adventures in the jungle terrain of Chult. Couple things real quick. First off, we ran the Cryforth promo there at the head, and I want to especially promote it because this is the book that you can actually get if you follow that link to DriveThruRPG.com for the Ravaged Wastelands of Cryforth, or you can just real quick just read it, and there you go. You got everything you need. Tomorrow night, right here on Mini-Terrain Domain, that is Monday, October 29th at 8:30 p.m. Since our Dungeon Master for the All That Glitters campaign has other real world responsibilities. One of our players, Dwight, who plays Bevan, is going to be dungeon mastering us in this game of Cryfoth, and we are going to be joined by Brian from Initiative Coffee Company, filling in the extra seat. So I'm really excited about that. It'll be my second time playing in Cryfoth, and probably Megan's 100th. So yeah, you can find that right here. All the usual, hit the follow button up on Twitch, hit the subscribe button down below. We are just past 8,450 subscribers on YouTube. When we hit 9,000 subscribers, I'm announcing a 10,000 subscriber giveaway package. That's going to be pretty awesome. So be sure to hit that subscribe and ring that bell. And actually, yeah, Brian from Initiative Coffee Company is sitting in the chat on Twitch right now. Last thing, mini terrain domain is, why is that not sending? Mini terrain domain, there we go. Link in the chat. Mini terrain domain is on Patreon. You can look at the different tiers that are available, support the channel. All of that funding goes right back into making it so we can continue to do awesome D&D games and other streams here on the channel. Domain dice right down below me. The players have 4 of them. 500 bits or a $5 donation earns them a domain die that they can use to re-roll any D20 roll, or force me, the Dungeon Master, to re-roll a D20 roll. All right, that's enough housekeeping stuff, because we're going to go into the jungles of Chult and play some D&D. When last we left off, we're only going to back up a little ways in time, because there's been a whole lot of stuff. Long story short, death curse in the region. They've been here for going on about right around 20 days trying to figure this thing out. Basically wandering around in the jungles aimlessly, or so it would seem, searching out their destinies and trying to find the source of the death curse, a thing they only know as the Soulmonger. And in the process, they've lost their guide. They lost Gunslinger Cole violently quite a while ago in their adventures, and Ubo has decided to stay with Artis Cimber and Dragonbait as they were attempting to repair the airship that had started to come apart in the thermals of the Firefinger when they were descending recently. Flying over the jungles of Chult en route to a place called Kir Sabal, they spotted a large magical signal fire down below in the darkness, and Vale mysteriously pointed this out and said, "We need to go there. It's important." And it was in the process of descending that a couple of things happened. One, Dunala appeared before their very eyes to dissipate into shadow with a look of concern that Berlinia took for fear, as Dunala completely dissipated into shadow and blended with the dark. Moments later, the airbag became partially detached, threatening to toss them all overboard. They descended down a rope to the surface of the Firefinger, and then the airship was lifted away in the thermals. They did receive a telepathic message from one of the hags on behalf of Ubo, who said he was going to stay with the ship and the airship, and that was the last they saw. The Firefinger they found to be the nesting area of the recently dispatched terrafolk that had attacked the airship. They began descending down through this giant chimney of rock, 300 feet tall, the last remnant of a signal tower throughout the land of Chult. On their way down, they discovered, locked in a cage, a bird man by the name of Eric, who has accompanied them, helping them to sneak past the elderly terrafolk that were nesting in this top level. As they began descending down through the various chambers of this giant stone chimney, they saw one last area that opened up into a cavern, and as they began to descend, so too with them descended 2 giant wolf spiders. At the same time, 2 more giant wolf spiders were climbing up from the pit toward them. But that is not where we are going to pick up. Tonight, we are a little ways back in time as the airship is descending, and Dunala turns toward Berlinia. Dunala, all around you, the sounds of people talking and preparing as the ship begins to descend begins to echo and reverberate in your ears, as if the very sound waves that are traveling towards you are breaking apart. Berlinia is moving her mouth, but you can't decipher what she's saying. You hear only this sort of... And as you hold your hands in front of you, Dunala, you see through your hands. And as the ship is descending, like wisps of smoke and shadow, your skin is peeling away from your very essence. And you watch as the ship and your party members descend below you, leaving you in the air as you suddenly become incorporeal. For a few moments, you are stuck bodiless at that moment, that place in the sky. What is going through your head at that moment, Dunala?
Dunala, when he was speaking, when he was trying to get Berlinia's attention, and she thought she saw fear on his face. It was not fear that she saw, it was desperation that she saw, because he was trying to tell her to begin praying, hoping that hopefully her God would stop what was happening. But she did not hear him, and there is no praying, and now Dunala is floating here in the night sky, and he's wondering, is this the work of the night serpent, or is this the work of Ubtao?
And as these thoughts go through your mind, and you're casting about, the only real illumination you can see is the bright light of the fire finger below you. And you, Dunala, being a Chultan native, you know that the fire finger is the last of its kind, the last of a what was once several of these signal columns and signal fires that ranged all over the land of Chult. And you cast your vision. What if you had a physical form, you would be turning your body, though you just sense yourself focusing towards the southwest. And for the briefest of moments, through the darkness, there's a separation of a pale midnight blue with the inky blackness of the land of Chult below you. That is the separation between the horizon, between the land and the sky. And you see, rising from this inky shadow of land, a shadow of darkness that is the darkest void you have ever seen. It rises towering over the southern part of Chult. And part of this void opens up. And 2 bright glowing red eyes are staring at you. To go a little, take something from outside the game to help everyone visualize this. Think whenever the Eye of Sauron was visible. In those quick flashes, you see something akin to that, except for there's no tower, and there's just these 2 red glowing eyes. And you can hear in your mind this. And as the mouth opens. You see shadowy forms from all over the land, not just Chult. You know them to come from up and down the Sword Coast, far into the east, across the Sea of Swords to the west, into the far southern reaches, even beyond the land of Chult. These shadows streaming in towards this larger shadowy figure. And you know it to be the souls that are being absorbed from all of the people dying around the world, being absorbed by the soulmonger. Next to you, you sense a presence. Again, turning yourself to what you imagine your physical body turning. Floating in the air next to you is a tiefling woman wearing a long coat. She looks at you, Dunala, and she says, "You don't belong here." And she raises a weapon in her hand toward where you sent yourself to be. And there's an explosion of magical fire as Gunslinger Cole fires her gun into your spirit form. And just like that, in an instant, you find yourself sitting on a stone bench in a small grotto surrounded by stone caverns. Or, excuse me, stone cavernous walls. There are petrified trees growing up around you. There are bookcases along the walls of this grotto. A desk. A small spring bubbles up in the middle of this grotto. Some of the water running out in trickles through an opening in this cavern. At a desk sits an elven woman with her back to you. She's writing furiously on something at the desk. You know she's elven because you can see from her long blondish hair that hangs down, her elven ears sticking out. What do you do?
Dunala looks first at his hands. Is he still transparent?
You are back in your physical form.
Perfect. Dunala knows what it's like to be moved around by gods. He knows what it's like when magic begins to go haywire. And he knows that anytime this happens, you just simply go with it. So he stands up, strains his robes a little bit. The white of his eyes snap away, so you see the green underneath his full Wanti vision, his arms scaled. And he begins to walk towards this elven woman. Did Vale ever tell them that he saw an elven woman, or no?
I believe that he did.
All right.
Yeah. When I for some reason went to the heart, I'd mentioned that.
Okay.
Yeah, and Dunala, you would have the kind of recollection of this place as if it matches the description of something that was told to you.
All right.
And you do recognize it to match up with with Vale's description of being inside the heart of
Then, as Dunala stands and begins to approach this woman, he is doing his damnedest to commit every single detail around him deep into his memory.
All right. The woman continues to scribble furiously. You can hear the scratching of quill on parchment as she is hunched over, and you just hear this sort of...
He says aloud, asking her, "Are you the voice of Ubtao?"
She sits up. She stops writing. She turns slowly to look at you. You don't belong here.
I've been told that many times before.
Give me an insight check.
I'll double check what my insight was. It's going to be a 12.
And what languages do you speak?
He speaks Abyssal, Draconic, Celestial, and Common.
Okay. She's looking at you again, just with this look of. She actually, you see her eyes kind of flip behind you, and she kind of like she's looking for somebody else. How did you get here?
How did you get to the voice of Uptal?
I have always been here.
I know that hesitation. You have not always been here, sitting at a desk writing an elven woman. What elven woman would be the voice of Uptal?
I have always been here. I just was not expecting you to be here.
Not much of a voice then, are you?
I am the voice of Ubtao, not the mind or spirit of the god.
Am I the first to ever be here before?
You know that is not true.
What are you writing?
Even the voice has to communicate missives through archaic methods.
Then may this humble pilgrim see these missives. I like to glean wisdom from the writings of Uptal, rare and far apart as they are.
I think you should leave. You are not the chosen. You are not invited here.
And yet here I stand, and not by my own will. Tell me, if Uptal didn't bring me here, then who?
Ubtao has his reasons. As I said, I am not the mind or the spirit of Ubtao.
Then if you are not the mind or the spirit, it is best that you stop questioning me and let me see what you have been writing, oh great voice.
You are taking great risk addressing me with such commanding force when you do not know who or what I am.
A god is useless.
It is best for you
prayers.
to simply observe and glean whatever information you can. If you would like to know more of the will of Ubtao, come with me. And she begins to move away from the desk. And she moves over towards you and towards the southern edge of this room you're in, where this chamber opens up and these trickles of water are leading out. And she walks over to the edge of the stone opening, and she just, with one hand on it still, just kind of, are you coming?
Dunala expects treachery just like how a doctor expects a baby to cry when it's delivered. And so when she goes over to that wall and looks to him, he knows that she's probably up to something. So before he walks over there, and he does tell her, I am coming. He looks to the desk and he looks at her writings. And can he see what she's writing or no?
Give me a perception check.
Got you, big daddy. All right, that's going to be, what's my perception at? Could be a 17.
I'm not used to Marquise rolling real dice.
Yeah, I know, it's disgusting.
Now give me an Arcana check.
All right, perfect. All right, that's going to be a 14.
As you walk over towards the desk, it takes you a little ways away from her, and she hesitates for a moment as she watches what you're doing. Her eyes flick to the desk. You see the writing on the parchment in an acidic green ink. And as you glance at it, the words that are written there shift as if many small insects were on the surface of the page. They suddenly just shift around, forming an entirely different language of ancient runes. And the color shifts from acidic green to a almost like a really dark brown. But you saw, before the words shifted through magic, you saw two words at the top of this piece of parchment. Those two words are probably foreign to you, but here is what you saw. Zas Tam. That's SZASS capitalized, and then the second word is a capital TAM.
Got it. Right. Dunala again commits it to memory.
And those words were in abyssal.
In abyssal? Perfect.
Before they shifted to these runes.
Dunala then turns and begins walking towards her. He entertains the idea of making some smart-ass comment about her being slow to cast her spell to obscure what she's written. But he knows better at this point. He knows it'd be smarter for him just to see what's going on in this other chamber she's trying to supposedly kill him in.
So you do follow her?
Yeah.
As you go out through this opening, you find yourself out in the open air. Everything has that sort of vaguely illuminated look that the jungles take at night when there's little starlight and a bit of moonlight. And you can see that you are about 100 feet above the Aldani Basin on a piece of floating stone. And this woman, this elven woman, is walking silently up some stone steps that lead up around the outside edge. Do you follow her?
He does. I do.
You emerge at the top of this stone that you are almost 100% certain is the heart of Ubtao. There is a petrified tree jutting up from the middle. You can even see from here that it is a hollow tree that leads down back into the grotto. She stands there near this tree. She points to the south in that same direction where you saw the visage of the soulmonger. Do you know what is out there?
Something very black and something very evil.
It is one of the more evil entities that exists in this world. But it is not working of its own volition. Did you know that there is a force behind this soulmonger controlling it?
There's no reaction on Dunala's face. But internally, it might as well be like his eyes go wide. And he looks to her and he says, I did not. What is this controlling external force?
I'm going to say a name. The name that I am going to say is one that you may or may not be aware of. If you have ever heard this name before, then you will have the proper level of fear and respect that this name commands. If you've never heard it before, then know you should be terrified and in awe at the mere mention of this name. Do you know the name Sararak? Make a history check.
Already on you, boss. 13.
You have not heard this name before, but the mere mention of it, something about the way the word rolls off her tongue, sends a chill down your spine. The soulmonger wishes only to devour every soul of every creature that dies in the world. It is the very reason that there can be no resurrection. It has a purpose. It has a reason to live and to exist. One of the things that makes Sararak so dangerous and so powerful is that he is using the soulmonger just because he can.
Are you expecting some kind of violent reaction from me? Some kind of, oh, I must go destroy it, or, oh, that is terrifying and horrible? Because I have neither of those feelings towards this soulmonger, nor this Serac that you speak of, powerful as he may be.
Do you not fear for your own soul if you die?
If I die, and my soul is consumed by this thing, it is a kind of fate than what will happen otherwise for me.
Then perhaps you are of no use. As I said, you do not belong here. And I need you to make a wisdom saving throw.
Ooh. Man, shucks. I'm gonna use your domain die. Actually, I have inspiration. I'm gonna use inspiration first.
All right.
All right, that's perfect. It's gonna be a 19 total.
You feel magical energy laced in her words. And you feel as if you are able to stand up against it. And then suddenly you feel this confidence, this almost apathetic nature that Dunala has, that he projects outward. It cracks, it splinters, and then it shatters. And you feel terror like you've not felt before. Or that you have never allowed anyone to see Dunala register fear. You are rooted to the spot as she glides towards you. And she smiles, and her elven appearance seems to just drain away, leaving behind the desiccated mask of death and decay. Her tattered brown robes slip away, and she's wearing blood red robes trimmed in gold. Make me a intelligence check. We'll say history at disadvantage.
Jesus, that'll be a big old one, buddy. I don't know no red wizards, man.
As she steps towards you in this new form, grinning, not because she's smiling, but because she no longer has any lips to cover her teeth, and her skull. She reaches out a bony finger towards you and shoves you over the edge of the heart of Ubtao. And you feel your physical body falling backwards through the 100 feet down towards the surface. And you splash into the waters of the Eldani Basin. And you feel as you hit, your physical body dissipate again. Your spirit form moves, unnecessary for it to breathe, deeper through these waters. And within the waters, you see 3 shadows. And you see 4 bright spots of light approaching towards those shadows. 2 from above and 2 from below. And I need everybody to roll for initiative. As we cut back to the cave in which Vale Istafal, Berlinia, and Eric are just noticing the 2 giant wolf spiders that are descending from above, and the 2 giant wolf spiders that are rising from below.
Dunala has a 25 since my alert.
Give me 1 second. I gotta flip back to my other spot. Where am I? This way. All right.
Don't worry, I have a plan. We're going to leave Eric in there to be consumed by the spiders, and then we nuke the site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
All right, Vale, what'd you get?
17, and a few chuckles, but really it wasn't that great of a joke.
Berlinia.
20.
Eric.
14.
All right, and this is where I would have been better off having whatchamacallit, D&D Beyond open. There we go. Oh, you guys are screwed. I mean, good luck.
You say we're screwed, but now that Dunala and Vale are together again, there is not an encounter you can throw at us that will stop us.
You're in a spirit world. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, listen, the moment I pop out this spirit world, it is slow for every motherfucker that walks my way.
So here is your initiative order. It is going to be, of course, Dunala, you're going first, followed by Berlinia, followed by Vale, followed by Eric, and followed by the spiders. Dunala, seeing these 3 shadowy forms with 4 bright spots of light threatening to dissipate them in your incorporeal form, what are you going to do?
So, Dunala is someone who is brother to all shadows, all darkness, all shade, all gloom. And so when he sees these lights converging on top of these shadows, he's going to raise a hand in this void that he is trapped in. And he's going to start pumping out sorcery points. And he's going to cause the darkness to overwhelm those points of light. He's casting literally darkness on those points of light.
Which points of light? There's 2 high ones and 2 low ones.
He's casting it on the two high ones, knowing that they would likely be more confused by this.
I'm sorry, the 2 which ones?
High ones.
2 high ones.
Yeah.
Where did my pencil just go? Okay, so these 2 are in darkness. Berlinia, Vale, and Eric, you watch as the top of this cavern suddenly just seems from a point of nothingness, a globe of darkness envelops the 2 giant wolf spiders as they were descending, and you can no longer see them. You know they're there, or at least you believe them to be there. You can't see them, but there are two coming up from below. What will you do, Berlinia?
So there's still two on the ground.
Yeah, they're climbing up from this pit that was below you. About the pit was about 15 feet deep, so they're not very far below you, climbing up the walls towards you. You can hear that skittering sound as they're moving toward you.
Out of panic from the spiders and this huge mysterious circle of darkness that has just appeared, Berlinia reflexively outstretches her hands at these two spiders, and she's going to do an Eldritch Blast on them and wanting to push them back into this hole. So she's going to do one at each of them.
All right.
So that's a 16 and a 15 to hit.
Yeah, that's going to hit both of them.
So that does 6 force and 9 force damage, and it pushes them back 10 feet.
You hit both of these giant wolf spiders and knock them down all the way to the bottom of this pit. They don't appear to have died. They've just been knocked all the way down to the bottom. Vale.
I run away. No. Going over and realizing how much I hate. Well, I don't hate spiders. I just kind of somewhat dislike them. What would be this pit? What would you say the diameter of this pit would be?
This pit is sort of irregularly shaped. It has a vague kidney shape, but it is roughly about 10 feet across at any given point.
Okay. And how deep would you say to this pit?
15 feet down.
Great. I'm just going to go ahead and cast Moonbeam into the pit because I want to make sure they're dead.
When the hell did Vale learn Moonbeam? I've gone for a couple sessions and this happens?
How tall is Moonbeam?
40 feet. Just to answer your question, Marquise, that's actually a thing I got a long time ago. And I have casted it before. You just haven't been paying attention because you're kind of mean.
Apparently not.
All right. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Moonbeam has does it do damage on the creature's turn when they start in it, or does it do damage right away?
I believe it does damage right away. And of course I had to do a major clean of my. Oh, look at that! Connor's great. I knew he had a use. Thanks for bringing him along.
How do you spell Moonbeam? I'm kidding. So when it enters or starts its turn, it has to make a con save, and then it takes
2d10.
Some damage on a failed save.
Yeah, it takes 2d10.
And if they're shape creatures, they turn back into their original forms.
There you go.
All right, so
basically, I'm going to cast it. Since it's about 10 feet, I'm going to try and cast it to put as much space into it as possible.
Well,
it's just...
No, go ahead and narrate it.
Yeah, I just look down in the pit, and it's almost like it seems to be like I'm pulling. Like you can see the moonlight, or at least some of it, it begins to kind of curve and bend. Just kind of like almost like I'm just kind of controlling this light, and I'm just shining it straight down into this kind of like dust-moted beam, and I'm kind of just concentrating it right down there, right down there.
And the beauty of this light is that it shoots up into the darkness, the magical darkness above as well. And what is the spell save DC on that?
It would be a con save, and it would be a 14 to save.
13, 8, 3, and natural 20. So 3, although you don't know about the 2 up above, 3 of the 4 failed their save. So go ahead and roll the damage.
Alrighty. I need one of these. And one of these. Okay. So that will be 15 points of radiant damage.
Okay. So you disintegrate the 2 wolf spiders down below. From up above in this globe of darkness, 2 more giant wolf spiders. Sort of, you see mostly just their legs and some random loose webbing falling from this globe of darkness. Dunala, in your vision, you see the entire scene before you illuminated in pure magical light. And you see one of the shadows take the form of Vale Istafal, casting this powerful magic spell. As these 4 entities are dissipated, Dunala, you begin to feel yourself rushing forward rapidly. Wind rushing past your ears as you rapidly are flying towards these shadowy forms. Make me a perception check real quick.
That's going to be a 17.
Just before you are speeding with an incredible speed that you've never had the sensation of before. And you just instantly find yourself standing next to Vale on this shelf of rock, coming to an instant stop, but there's no jarring motion or anything like that. But right before you do this, you catch one last, as this moonbeam energy went up through in this huge column, it illuminated one more point of light up near the ceiling of this cavern that immediately turns to darkness as your normal vision returns. And you find yourself in your physical form standing next to Vale.
And then I imagine that's when the dark vision would kick in.
Yeah, so you can see around this area. However, the ceiling above you is a giant globe of darkness.
Is it my darkness that's doing that?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I can see through my darkness.
Oh yeah, you can see through your darkness. Give me another perception check.
Gotcha. That's gonna be a 16.
You do not see anything.
But I know something's up there, correct?
Correct. Well, yes, you saw movement up there in this ethereal area in which you were basically in a variation of or similar to the ethereal plane.
As much as as much as Dunala loves dramatics, right now he knows, no, it's not that he knows this isn't the time for dramatics. Right now he's just not interested in them. And he raises his finger and he snaps his fingers. It's going to illuminate the entire ceiling as he dismisses his darkness with a great green fireball just blossoming above him.
Well, it's actually not your turn, so...
Oh, bet. Sick. Well, hello.
So, belay that. It is actually Eric's turn. As you suddenly notice there is another person whom you have never seen before. Well, describe Dunala to Eric. What does he see?
You see a dark-skinned man, long dreads. His robes are purple and black, and they slash across his body. His arms glisten with emerald scales, as do his eyes, which are jade and emerald, except for the iris of the eyes, both which shine gold. His face is very sharp. It's probably, other than the shining scales, is the most like obvious thing you'd catch looking at him.
So basically, you see Marquise in cosplay.
But darker skin and longer locks.
Yes, all right.
So yeah, what would be your reaction to this?
I was gonna just be taken aback by how long was this man there? As he whispers it to Vale next to him, who is no longer probably next to him anymore. He's just like looking around. He's trying to pierce the darkness with his eyes. He's just very confused and just taken aback by what's going on and the chaos going on around him. He's knocked an arrow onto his bejeweled bow. And he actually has it pointed at the dreadlock man, known as Marquise. I do not wish to lose.
I guess as I bring down Moonbeam, I kind of look over. Oh, no! He's a friend.
Well, hold on. Before you bring down Moonbeam, because I want to keep things moving in this sort of combat thing, combat order. Because even though you've destroyed the 4 wolf spiders, you all hear throughout this cavern. You hear this sort of. And I need a wisdom saving throw from everybody.
19. Yo, my purple glitter dice is powerful tonight.
I got a 16.
I got a 7.
And Vale.
That nat 1 power.
Vale and Berlinia, this moaning sound terrifies you. You don't know where this sound is coming from. You don't know what is making it, but it shakes you to your very core. Eric and Dunala, it's just a sound. And it is, if you want to take an action, Eric, you actually can take an action now.
I will just further distance myself from the glowing globe of darkness and just kind of backtrot a bit more. Other than that, no action.
That's going to pull us back up to Dunala.
Dunala snaps his fingers, and the globe of darkness turns and explodes into a mass of writhing, shadowy snakes. As they hiss, and the hiss sounds not like a hiss, but like the absence of sound, like a hiss draining in sound. They all begin to flood upwards, up the length of the cliff wall, where they will then ignite into brilliant, beautiful jade green flames that cast fireball on where I saw that thing up on the ceiling earlier.
All right, what's the DC?
That's a good question. What is my save DC these days? 16, 17, 16, 17? I'm going to say 16. What is it, 8 plus 3 plus 5?
Well, it doesn't matter. I got a 9, so.
Oh, bet. It's 16.
So what's your damage?
I should probably roll that too, huh? Give me 1 second. I haven't played D&D in many years. Alright, that's going to be 30 points of fire damage.
As this green fireball erupts across the ceiling, in the way that fire does when it's rising up but meeting resistance, it's doing that thing where it's almost like kind of round and bubbled on the bottom as it's licking across the ceiling and just but you see that it's catching against something, and you see as it looks as if the top of the inside of the cavern sort of writhes. The entire top of this cavern sort of writhes and detaches itself. And the shadow that for a moment looks like a giant leathery cloak suddenly flaps large wings, completely detaching itself from the ceiling. And it's Berlinia's turn.
Does Berlinia know that this is the source of her fear now?
100%. This terrifies you.
Berlinia stands there for a moment, frozen, eyes wide with pure terror. No. She can't even say the words. She's just frozen, and she's going to back away. And I think she's actually going to try and get away from this thing. So she's going to run, I guess, back.
Which is your only option, because you cannot willingly move toward it. So you kind of back away into that cavern. You'd come through this narrow cavern, and you guys had descended down from an opening in the floor above. But you can kind of back yourself in and around the corner. It's about a 10-foot by 15-foot chamber of stone, otherwise empty. That's where you have to go, basically.
And then I think she would begin to glow this radiant color from her skin, and these wings would come out as far as they can, but they are, kind of trapped by these walls. But they would come out as much as they can, and she has this ethereal look, but you cannot. It still doesn't cover the fear in her eyes. That's her action.
All right. Vale, you too can now see the source of your terror.
For what everyone else sees, my eyes just go wide. Colors completely and utterly drains from my face. And I can't move. I'm frozen. You can feel the cold sweat just chilling me, even in the jungle. Staring, I can't do anything. I just look, and my mouth is agape, and I can't do a thing.
Make me a concentration check for your moonbeam.
Sure. Now, if memory serves me correctly, that's a con check.
It's just a DC 10 check, I think.
Right, but I use.
Is it a con check, or it's a straight D20? I thought
it's a Constitution check. That's why sorcerers have Constitution.
All right, excellent. Yeah,
and that'd be a 14.
Almost out of instinct, your moonbeam spell is still there. It hasn't dissipated unless you willingly dissipate it. This thing, Vale, as you stay rooted to the spot, go ahead and roll your damage again for Moonbeam. Because this thing is caught in your Moonbeam spell.
Oh, darn. Hashtag don't feel bad. All right, that is a 10.
As this moonbeam, you see it ripping at this, what looks, it's starting to take a little more shape, and you can see a curl of shadowy tail whip down, and it seems to be kind of tattering, the moonbeams fraying it around the edges a little bit. You see a small round head with gleaming red eyes and just a too wide mouth with way too many teeth in it open up as it swoops down towards you, Vale. And it is... I'm going to try this die. Does a dirty 20 hit you? I think so.
Oh, yeah.
All you see are this thing's teeth as its mouth opens incredibly wide. As it bites down over your head and your shoulders, engulfing your head completely. You're going to take... 8 points of piercing damage as this thing latches itself onto you. You are...
grappled?
You are...
petrified.
Blinded and unable to breathe.
Decapitated.
You are blinded and unable to breathe.
No problem.
What's your con modifier?
+2.
You have 2 rounds until you suffocate.
Damn, son.
As it latches down onto Vale, it whips its tail around at... let's see. Even is Eric. Odd is... well, it's Dunala. Dunala does a... ooh, that is a nat 20.
No, that misses. Wait a second. Domain die that. Get that nat 20 out of here. I don't know what you think this is, dog. This is MTD.
I'm going to laugh so hard if he does it again.
Yo, we got 3 more domain die.
You can only use 1 domain die on a die roll.
Man.
That is a nat 11. So that's going to be a 17 to hit.
Barely, I'm a pretty swift guy, but
you take 11 points of damage as this tail whips around and smashes into you. And actually, what's your what is it? Hold on, I'll come back to that. Instead of just shouting half sentences out at you guys. It is now the end of this thing's turn. Now, the original fear effect that gripped you, Vale, is no longer gripping you. Now, I imagine an entirely different fear as you're suffocating inside this thing's mouth is gripping you. Berlinia, where you are in the back corner, this fear suddenly drains away from you. Eric. This is happening right next to you. What do you do?
God damn it, Mac! As he volleys some arrows. I guess it'll be 1 arrow because he's just a rogue. At this disgusting face leech that has bitten over Vale's head.
If you make a ranged attack, it will be at disadvantage because you are right next to it.
Is Vale an entity that is eligible to give me sneak attack?
You have Dunala next to you
That's
as
true.
well, so you would get sneak attack advantage.
So that would be a 16 after disadvantage.
That is going to hit it.
All right. Be a good old-fashioned 19 plus 4, 23 points of piercing damage.
11 points of damage as this arrow launches into this creature. The arrow penetrates in, striking Vale. Vale, you take 11 points of piercing damage.
I'm dead.
And then, yeah, I'm done.
Is that all you have?
Yes.
Let's see. That was back to Dunala.
Dunala is very nonplussed by the fact that he just gets slapped in the face by this thing's tail. And so lifting his hand and just lazily like swiping his arm at this thing, I'm upcasting a chaos bolt on top of it. And then that's what I'm doing.
All right.
So I was gonna roll the hit. Let me see what my roll to hit is, +8. All right, this is gonna be an unnatural 20 to hit. I'm assuming that's hitting.
Okay.
All right, so let me roll my tons of damage and the type of damage this is as well. As he casts the bolts, I imagine that only your character would see this, Connor. But literally, actually, you don't have dark vision, do you? Or Eric, so you wouldn't see it. Then the camera would move into the shadows of this canyon, and you would just see the corpses convulsing of the wolf spiders at the bottom of it as he harvests their memories. So that's 7, and that's 4d6 on top of that. 4, 5, 2. What's 7 plus 7, everybody?
7 plus 7?
Yeah.
It's 14.
All right, that's going to be a total of 18 points of damage that I rolled with everything there. And the type of damage is psychic.
Vale, you take 9 points of psychic damage as whatever happens outside courses through this thing's body and into you. And Berlinia, it is your turn.
Could I roll something to see if, or is it very obvious that any damage this thing takes, Vale is also...
You were cowering around in the cave behind and have not seen any of this. You don't even know that Vale has been engulfed by this thing.
So she can't see. So she would... This fear suddenly leaves her, and she feels this immense sense of guilt suddenly rush over her for leaving her friends behind, and she would run up, still glowing, so everyone would see just this huge light coming in, and then she would see all of this happening. And she would see Vale like this, and crap. She would yell out his name and put her hands forward, and this huge light would come from her hands into this thing. And she's casting Guiding Bolt.
Vale, you're going to get killed by your own party.
You know what? I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with that. If I'm going to go, at least it was blue on blue. And I'm okay with that.
All right. Roll the attack, Berlinia.
That's an 18 to hit.
That is absolutely going to hit.
Come on, max damage.
What level are you casting that at?
Third, she would cast it at max level. She's gonna, and I do extra damage when I'm an angel thing, so
Boom.
That's going to be 32 points of damage.
Hallelujah, God bless.
16 points of this damage is going to hit you, Vale, as you see this. Momentarily, you see that look like when you have your eyes closed and there's bright light shining and you see everything has this sort of red cast to it.
Yep.
You see that and you feel this intense burning pain radiate through your body as you take this 16 points of bludgeoning or of radiant damage. Let's see, and this thing is and
I'm still up. Go
Wow.
figure.
I
Yeah,
do think also as a bonus action, she would cast her healing light onto Vale, which doesn't.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one, Megan. I think
I
we
don't
pull
know.
that back.
Maybe we should read the rules on that one.
Yeah.
So how's the healing light work?
It's a bonus action.
So how much does it heal?
11 points.
Nothing.
All right. And 11 points goes to the... No, I'm just kidding.
That'd
That's
be
just
awesome,
that is
though.
just a single target, right? Okay. Because if it was an area effect, it very well might heal the bad guy. Vale, it's your turn, and you've taken a heck of a beating. You cannot breathe. Something is engulfing your head. Its teeth piercing into your upper chest and shoulders. What are you going to do? You have the use of your hands.
I'm gonna be real cheeky about this, and I don't know if it's gonna work. But if I were to Misty Step, would I Misty Step right out of that thing?
You can certainly try.
So that's a no. Damn,
That's
I
not a
metagame.
no. That's not a no.
That's a total no.
What is the components of a Misty Step? It's just vocal, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is. Dicks.
No,
I keep thinking
you're not gagged. What I'm saying is, yes, you can Misty Step out of this thing.
If you can't speak the words, just like type them in Braille, and that'll help you out.
What I want to know.
Yeah, you can stomp your foot in Braille or in even Morse code.
All right, here's what I want you to do, Mike. Because I'm going to let this happen. There's no reason for it to not happen. And you can thank Marquise in part for this, because in the game that we played in Barker's setting, I was underwater and was allowed to Misty Step by shouting into the water up into the branches of a tree. However, you are completely disoriented by this thing having been on your head for a little while.
Fair.
I would like you to roll a D8 to determine which direction you are Misty Stepping.
Sounds good. That would be a 2.
You're lucky. If you had rolled
everything else,
if you had rolled like a 4, 5, 6, or 7, you would have stepped out into the open air over the 15-foot drop. Instead, you actually find yourself suddenly free of this thing, and you are back in the cavern that you dropped down. You're basically in the spot that Berlinia was cowering in moments before. Completely covered in saliva, dripping in blood, your brain hurting from psychic energy, your body hurting from radiant damage.
Yeah, I'm sucking in air out of every orifice right now, because that pretty much that hurt a lot. So,
is that your action to Misty Step out of there?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I'm just laying down there, breathing, coughing, choking.
There's a couple of... Actually, give me another concentration check.
Sure.
Because...
that would be 11.
What is it? The DC... I shouldn't have looked this up. The DC is 10 or
damage you've taken, if it's over 10.
Okay, yeah. So the first time you took damage, your moonbeam would have dissipated.
Oh, okay, then never mind. Then
so
then it is.
I just needed to check to see if that was still up. So next to you, Dunala and Eric, suddenly Vale is gone, and actually, that's a good point. It's 10 or half the damage taken, not the full. Roll me another one. Another con check real quick. Or concentration check.
Okay. That is a 15.
And one more. There's a chance you might have kept it up.
And then that is a 14. No, 13.
No, because the last damage you took, the one point in there, you took the 16 points of damage from the, so that, 15 and 14 fail, so that killed it. So Dunala, Eric, and actually Berlinia, you can see that, Vale's suddenly gone. This thing reels for just a second, and there's a and suddenly it seems to break apart into another one, and then that one separates, and in this tight cavern there appears as if all around you and floating above you there are now 4 of these massive, what look like floating manta rays all around you. And it is Eric's turn.
Well, Eric would like to use his reaction as a skirmisher to basically just like leap away from one of these things. I imagine as it kind of like flutters kind of to him and kind of like gnash him or something. He gets to move half his speed if an enemy ends their turn within 5 foot of him. And I get to move without making opportunity attacks. So I kind of like leap backwards a bit, distancing myself from these creatures.
All right.
Pull back on my bow, aim, and then...
First, yes, roll your attack.
Mm-hmm. That is a natural 20.
Roll me a d4.
It'll be a 2.
Oh my gosh. You had to roll randomly to see which of these things you hit, and you roll your damage.
All right.
So, Connor, this is your first time rolling a crit with me. Critical hits are automatic max damage.
Oh, okay.
Then roll your damage dice one more time.
Cool. Yep.
You have allies within 5 feet of this, so you qualify for sneak attack.
Do I count my modifier as double?
No.
Okay, cool.
No, you count. You add your modifier to the max damage total, then just roll damage dice one more time.
Yep, cool.
Then you multiply everything by 10.
Then I divide by the square root of pi.
While Connor's doing math, shout out to Initiative Coffee for the rule help on concentration checks. Thank you.
37 piercing. 37.
Your arrow, as you leap back and draw this arrow, you seem to, in the way that birds do when they make quick movements, you seem to just for a moment glide backwards. I picture you in one of those, just those heroic poses where you're kind of back, your feet are up, and you're drawing your bow and you let loose. And this arrow flies right into the open mouth of this creature. And it hits it and it falls back. The arrow explodes out the back of its head. The other 3 forms dissipate into shadow and then nothingness. And there is a heavy crashing sound as this giant creature crashes to the ground below. It flops for a moment and then lies still. You are out of combat.
That is how you kill 4 birds with 1 arrow.
I'm just going to tell you guys what that was, because that's the first time I've ever used one. Does anybody know what that was?
It was a Zumba.
I guess it's on a cloaker.
Did you say a Zumba?
Yes.
Yes, it was a dance exercise craze from the 2000s.
I knew it. I thought I heard reggaeton.
I thought it was a Roomba. I thought it was a Roomba.
No, that was a cloaker. I've actually never used one, and I thought that was a
what book is
perfect
that
place.
from? Is that from like
Monster Manual?
It's from the Monster Manual.
Like OG Monster Manual.
I've never heard of that book.
Yeah, you guys.
That's not AL legal.
I was worried you guys were
Well,
gonna.
it has a fly speed, so it's not AL.
For a minute, I thought you were gonna one-shot my CR8 monster, Marquise, because you've one-shot with those fireballs. You've one-shotted so many of my monsters.
Next time, I'm gonna just do 2 fireballs, but that's neither here nor there.
At any rate, this thing crashes to the ground. Vale, you can hear this crash from the other area because you're kind of tucked back in this in this corner. What do you guys do? You're out of combat, so you have your free actions and.
Eric takes a bow as he lands this killing shot. Mesdames et messieurs, it is I, Prince Eric, at your service.
The pleasure is mine. And then he looks over to you, Vale. Where am I?
Cough up a little bit of blood, just a little gobbet. We're in Firefinger.
Why are we here?
We landed. Uptao told me we had to come here. I don't know why. The only thing we found is pain, suffering, and then I point to Eric, big old bird.
This is a den of the terrorfolk, is it not? What did you you are foreign. You would not know. Are you sure it was Ubtao who led you here?
I just got that feeling in my head. Just we had to come here because Ubtao said so.
Because you've had a feeling that you talked to Ubtao before, and it turns out it was not Ubtao at all.
What do you mean? Well, I mean, I suppose. I don't know. I mean, I just hang on a minute. I'm gonna cast Lay on Hands. I'm gonna cast Lay on Hands on my damn self.
I also think Berlinia would cast Cure Wounds on you as well. Would immediately rush over to you and heal you.
Cool.
For 16 points.
Nice. Then I will use 19 of my 30 for that.
Well, I will say this. I guess it doesn't matter if you're burning spell slots and such, but with the danger past, well, no. I guess I'll tell you this and leave it up to you guys to decide. This danger is past. You are near the bottom of the Firefinger. You know that you believe you may have dispatched most, if not all, of the terrafolk from this location based on the ones you killed, and you found the one that was remaining that you basically killed when it was at the top of the Firefinger. There are the 4 elderly terrafolk up at the top that you could decide to attempt a long rest here, or you could try to get clear of here and rest in the jungle, because it is late at night and you guys have been going for most of the day. So basically you need to decide, do you want to stay here and rest, or are you going to get the hell out of here and move on into the jungle somewhere and set up a camp?
Nala can't have a valid opinion because he doesn't know what the fuck's going on.
I will say, not too far from here is more terrafolk.
Then let us kill them.
I think it would be better if we just go, make camp a little ways down, heal up. Eric, you said you were going to take us somewhere. To someone. Who was it again?
Kirasabal.
Gesundheit. Okay.
Where's Artis Simba? Where's Ubo? Where's Dragonbait and the Hags?
They all had to take off in the airship and go back. There was a problem with the ship. Ubo stayed on. He helped, saved everyone, and yeah.
We're going to meet them.
Go ahead.
We're going to meet them at Kirsabal.
Kirsabal. Do I know this place, Jake?
I don't know. Give me a history check.
Thanks, DM.
I'm not just going to give you all the knowledge. I mean, you're native, but you don't know everything.
That's a 15.
You've heard of it. You know that it's an Aarakocra monastery perched high on the cliffs on the northeastern edge of, or it's on the eastern edge, but more northernward in Chult.
That is a good idea to go there. The monastery of Aarakocra, if we meet them there, will be a good place for us to fly to the heart of Ubtao and destroy it.
Okay.
Village is
I
like,
mean,
yeah, destroy the heart of
yeah.
Ubtao.
Wait a minute, though. I thought the heart of Ubtao was where we needed to go.
I did too, until I went there. Now that I've been there, I know it must be raised. False idol that it is.
Well, but did you speak to the voice of Ubtao?
I spoke to a thing that said she was the voice of Ubtao before she stripped her face of skin, revealing that she is some undead thing. Before she tried to change the words that she was writing to trick me, but you cannot trick the eyes of Dunala easy. Before she wrote in Abyssal, Ubtao does not speak in those words. No, whatever is there claiming to be the voice is a false prophet, and I aim to kill it.
Sounds good.
Is it all then? We go to Gersabal?
Yes.
So I guess we'll just start walking, and I guess make a little camp.
So I will say that because both Vale and Berlinia kind of tucked back into that corner, you did find something back in that little corner of the cavern that you missed when you came down the first time. In Berlinia, you were cowering in fear, so you kind of didn't pay attention to it. But Vale, having just been back in there, you would have seen this. On the floor, there is a kind of just leaning against the wall with little mounds of dirt and some bits of straw, as if something were kind of keeping it a little bit safe. Is a gold and carnelian ring worth about 60 gold pieces, and 2 onyx figurines that look like small creatures with, and the onyx is actually painted with white masks that have different patterns on their face.
Yo, that's my pimp ring. Dunala taking that ring. It's his now.
Dunala and Eric, give me nature checks.
I got a 16.
I got a 17.
So you know that these figures represent the Schwinga, which are revered elemental magical creatures that are known for bringing good luck. These are just statue representations of them. But to picture what they look like, picture Edward Scissorhands with Rorschach's face.
I've never been so attracted to something before.
I mean, that's 100% what these things are. They're Edward
Yes,
Scissorhands
very
with...
Wait, do you have the picture like right there?
It's a really tiny one.
Shove it in my face, man. Fucking slap me with it.
No, while you guys are making your way, I will find... I think I have an image that I can bring in. So you guys are going to go ahead and descend down the rest of the Firefinger and find a safe place to set up camp. I'll take your silence to mean yes.
Not to mean yes, sir.
It's easy enough. You got at least one or two of you that can see in the dark. And how far away would you go? You know, if you're going to move toward Kirsabal, you need to move southeast, and you know that there is a river to the east that if you eventually can pick up the river, it would take you down closer and quicker towards Kirsabal. It's the River Orlung. Nope, Olung, not Orlung. Stupid, why they type names in 3-point font? So how far into the jungle would you go?
I feel like Eric would be the last to tire here because he's probably spending the least amount of calories because he's just flying high above them, guiding them as a falcon hawk or whatever the heck they would do, a guiding hawk.
Once you move into the jungle, you might be able to flit from like location to location, but the trees are close enough together that flying inside the jungle canopy is difficult.
I might have to be above the canopy then.
In which case you would not be able to see your party.
I would be grounded then. Yeah. I'll jump from tree branch to tree branch, which is tiring.
All right. So I'm sorry, did you guys say how far in you were going?
It's nighttime there, right? Like when we
get
out?
It's like late now.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that we wouldn't go in like too far, but maybe far enough that we can be at least hidden from
half hour, 2 hours.
2 hours.
416 meters.
Probably just an hour. And once you get an hour in, I mean, that's pretty deep. So
yeah, through the jungle, you guys traveling an hour, you're going to end up moving far enough away that you'll feel safe. Dunala, give me a nature check. Actually, give me a survival check.
It's going to be an unnatural 20 then instead of 18.
You know that this region that you're in is very low probability of undead. The undead don't seem to move through this area very much.
He would tell the others that, basically saying this is not where the dead were buried, and then keep on walking.
So you guys can go ahead and set up your camp. And would you build a fire? Or would you just camp up in the dark?
I mean,
let's build a fire. Kind of need to.
Well, not necessarily.
That's what my survival proficiency says.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can make a fire. At least the light might pull some of the night, keep some of the night creatures away.
And the bugs. The smoke will keep the bugs away.
Oh, you're gonna go gather some citronella for us, or?
I think I'll just get some off.
Are you guys gonna set up a watch?
Yeah, I would probably take. I'll take first watch.
I am tired. I will not be sitting watch this evening.
Where did you go?
Screw you.
Sorry. I went to see the Soulmonger, and then I went to go see the Heart of Uptal, and then I met your sister, Cole, the gunslinger. And then I learned who was behind the Soulmonger. It was a very eventful journey.
How did you... When you left, there was a lot of fear in your eyes. It didn't seem as though you were going willingly.
Fear? No. Willingly? Also no. I was hoping you would say one of those prayers of yours to have your God keep me from being whisked away by one of the two gods who loves to whisk me away. Unfortunately, I do not think you heard me, nor could I hear you. Afterwards, I saw the Soulmonger, and I saw it consuming the souls of the dead. Very, very odd thing. There, I met your sister, the gunslinger Cole, who shot me, telling me I did not belong there. In which case, I then went to the Heart of Uptal, met the voice of Uptal, saw through her many lies, for they were, again, very many. She also told me I did not belong there. She said that to me 3 times, I believe. Every time I cared less and less, as Dunala is wont to do, but she told me that I did not belong there regardless. She tried to hide her evidence. It did not work. She pretended to be a prophet. It did not work. And so she cast a spell on me because she knew she could not scare me normally. So she put fear into my heart, and then she stripped her face free of flesh, and then she showed me what she was. before attempting to kill me. But Dunala is a snake. He sheds skin easy every time you try to kill him. So I shed my skin, went back to the world of dreams, and I saw you fighting a bunch of things I could not properly see. So I hid these things from you with my darkness and my shadows. And then Vale did some thing I never saw him do before, and that brought me back into this world. And here I am. I am Dunala. It is a pleasure to meet you.
And Berlinia would, and then she'd point to Eric. This is
Eric. And he bows. It is a
to
pleasure
me.
to meet you, Dulala.
This is the second time you have told me this, only this time you added the word Dunala to the end of it. It is still a pleasure to meet you. And what kind of bird is Eric?
Bright in plumage, blues and yellows, and a bunch of verdant colors. Brilliant display.
You're very bright. I assume the Terra folk captured you because of that.
I cannot glean the reasons that why they would capture me. You know?
Regardless, whatever is in the heart of Upta does not belong there. In fact, I question much about my faith now, in terms of what the heart of Upta actually is. Has it always been under the control of something so evil? Is this a newfound thing? Regardless, the heart of Upta did tell me something I believe to be true. And that is a powerful figure by the name of Asarak is behind the Soulmonger, and that he conjured the Soulmonger, which consumes the souls of the dead, everyone who dies, simply because he could.
Berlinia, give me a history check.
I'm going to use inspiration for that history check because I want to know. That's a 15.
And all of a sudden, it literally just left my brain. What is the tiefling's name from your order?
Brother Mateus.
Brother Mateus, and your order is the Weeping Friars.
Yes.
So, Berlinia, when Dunala says Serac, for a moment, you just continue listening, and then that name just seems to knock around inside your head for a moment. And you remember a time when you were new to the order, before you kind of learned your place, before you learned that Brother Mateus doesn't want you anywhere near him unless he requests your presence. All you were doing was cleaning. But Brother Mateus and some of the other elders were in conversation. And even though they believed themselves to be alone in this room, they were speaking in hushed tones. And you remember hearing Brother Mateus say the name Serac. A moment later, he looks up and he looks through the open door and sees you cleaning in the other room. And he yelled at you to get out of there. That was your first lesson in not being near Brother Mateus. So this is a name that you have heard whispered in secret in your order.
And I think there would be a bit of silence after Dunala tells of his story. I've heard that name before, that Brother Mateus of the Weeping Friars, he had been talking about him. So it was many, many years ago. Do you know anything about him?
I know absolutely nothing other than the fact that apparently he is a very powerful and very scary individual.
I only wish I had heard more now.
My brothers and sisters at the monastery of Kirasabal may know more about these mystical things you talk about.
Of course, we will go there. We will thoroughly. You have scrolls, I assume. Yes.
Most likely.
Perfect.
You
I
know
will
that
go
Kirsabal
around.
has a pretty well stocked library.
I know we have a pretty well stocked library, but I have not been in there much myself. You know, I am more of a man of the canopies and the sun and the stars. You know, with the gales of the winds underneath my great wings.
Eric, how long ago how long have you been away from Kirsabal?
I'm gonna roll a d8. The d8 fell on the floor. I'll roll a d6. That's 6. I'll say 6 weeks.
Okay. Before you left, you knew that the teacher, as she is known, even by you, and some of the other elders at Kirsabal were concerned. There had been mounting concern over this threat of something called the Soulmonger. So you have at least a associative knowledge of the Soulmonger and the death curse that is gripping the region. And as far as you know, it's just Chult that is affected by it. But you know that normally where magics can be used to resurrect somebody, those magics no longer work. Though you've never heard the name Serac. Even with the healing you've received, Vale, you're still pretty beat up. You've been through a pretty physically challenging experience. Who among you, I know I heard Dunala say that he was grabbing his pimp ring, so he took that gold ring, but who took the 2 Chwingus statues?
Eric would take them if no one others would. For he has a penchant for he has an eye for sparkling things.
So as you're all just you're having this conversation, and as conversations do, especially after a long day with the crackling fire, the night is one of the cooler nights you've experienced, where the fire is actually a comfort. Not too hot, it's not too cold to be away from it. The heat isn't sweltering, the humidity isn't drowning you. There's no storms on the air, the wind is light. Conversation amongst all of you begins to sort of taper off. Everybody roll me perception.
That's a
15.
5.
What? 3 of you spoke at once.
15.
18.
5.
Vale.
I also got an 18.
Eric and Vale, you notice at the perimeter of the fire, the light that spreads out from the fire, you see something in the trees moving, small, something in the brush. You see first 1, then 2, then 4, 8, 16, 32, all around you. What look like glowing white eyes looking in at you. But they're not eyes. They're not pairs of eyes. They are small, sort of oval-shaped white masks with different patterns of black on them. wild tangles of thick, curly black hair. Bodies tiny, no more than 6 to 8 inches in height. The real representations of these statues: 64, 128, 212. They keep multiplying. All around you, you become surrounded by, at this point, Dunala and Berlinia. You can now see them as hundreds and hundreds of Schwinga are emerging from the brush. And with them, the sounds of the jungle seem to fade away. The firelight seems to take on an almost an ethereal glow. And all of you feel this sort of peace and calm emanating from these tiny creatures. First one, then two, then half a dozen begin to approach each of you. They sort of climb up on you, and almost immediately they find a crook in your arm, a fold in your cloak, the space, Berlinia, along your neck where your hair drapes down. All over, these tiny, warm, calm little creatures basically begin to snuggle up to you. And every time they do this, you just feel more and more calm as all of you begin to drift into a deep and dreamless sleep. And that's where we're going to end tonight's session.
If Dunala gets forced into some weird, not dream void one more damn time, Jake, it's
I
over
specifically
for everybody.
said a deep and dreamless sleep.
That's just another type of dream for Dunala.
I wanted for a change to give you guys a nice, calm, peaceful ending where the threat of death isn't imminent. I also wanted to kind of step slowly back into things now that we have everybody here and we're getting Connor involved with his new character, Eric. Because if I don't do this, I feel like one or more of these people is going to come to my house and do physical harm to me.
We are level 7.
You are going to level up to level 7.
Thank you.
Which means I would like you guys to roll your hit dice now on the air so we can see what your how many hit points you get added to your new level.
Oh god, that's a 1.
If it's under the average, you can take the average instead.
So, if I roll a 1 and I have a -1, do I get 0 or is it minimum 1?
It would be 0, but I just said you can take the average instead.
It's one of the first times it's ever popped up. I'm like,
I don't want people to get completely screwed on hit point increases. So how'd you do, Vale, on hit points? Dang it! You almost made it the whole session, Mike.
I know.
Oh my gosh!
Anyway, I rolled a 9.
All right.
Yeah, so that's pretty good.
How'd you do, Megan?
Rolled a 5.
And Marquise?
I got a 7.
And I believe Connor, you're taking the average.
I'm gonna go for this, taking the average instead of
all right,
taking my 0. But
so yeah, there will be well, we'll see where you guys are. A new day will dawn in the jungles of Chult, as you now have a new destination to move toward. As you prepare to head toward the monastery of Kir Sabal, that is Eric's home. All right. I completely forgot to do this at the top, at the very beginning. So we're going to go ahead and do it right now. As we head out of here, I will throw it to each of you to go ahead and promote anything you want to promote. Tell us where we can find you. And any final words? Mike.
Hi, I'm Mike. I had a wonderful time as always because Jake is so amazing when it comes to running games. You can find me. Well, you can't because I'm hidden. I'm deep in a bunker somewhere. Actually, I'm under a rock in Canada. So good luck, bitches. But seriously, you can find me on this channel where I run the Dragon Heist game, All That Glitters, featuring such awesome people as Jake and Megan, and also Vanessa, and of course the big bearded sexy nerd Dwight, as they go through this pun-filled landscape of Waterdeep. Many puns, all the puns. It's not that many puns actually, but yeah.
There's some puns.
There's some puns. So there you go, Marquise. I mean, if you want to go through Dragon Heist at some point, just be aware there's some puns.
I'm not doing any of that if there's puns involved.
There you go.
All right. Next is Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan. I am one half of the YouTube channel Dice on Ice and also one half of the publishing company Dice on Ice Publishing.
Whoa! Sorry, keep going.
Marquise is excited. Which tomorrow we will be playing the book that we have published, The Ravaged Wasteland of Cryfoth, which I am so excited to have people to have the setting back on here after it was run by Marquise. So, yay!
Yeah, that's right. It was actually run for 7 weeks on Sunday nights roughly in this time slot for the last 7 days, which I believe is on one of Marquise's channels. And I was trying to see if I could turn to it real quick. Yes, here we go. That is what I'm playing tomorrow. A Suri Barbarian. I'm looking forward to it. Connor.
I am the lesser half of Dice on Ice, and I am also the lesser half of the publishing company with the same name. You've heard this spiel before 1,000 times, or probably about, 30 times before, because that's how many sessions of this game you've ran, apparently. Yeah, not much to say besides just check this book out. The little promo reel at the beginning was for this thing, and it was a fantabulous promo trailer. Thanks, Jake, again, for doing that for us. Get us on Drive Thru RPG, subliminal messaging, buy, obey, whatever, do it, spend money. All that's good stuff. Thank you, and have a good night.
Also, just real quick, I'm going to grant you guys another domain die for next session because the Castle Matt crew just raided us at the tail end. They have a propensity to do that. They just brought in 20-some viewers and are raiding all over our Twitch stream here.
Well, now I just feel awful.
So there was a time a while back where we ended a stream and we raided each other's channels at the exact same moment. Because we were like, what the heck is happening? Nothing's going on. But Castle Matt crew is a wonderful crew. If you're not following them on YouTube and Twitch, as well as Twitter, absolutely do that because those are some awesome folks over there. So thanks for the raid. Got you guys a domain die. It's kind of like the secret way to earn domain dice. Finally, Marquise.
I am Marquise. And though I am glorious and beautiful in every single way, what I would like to plug tonight is something called scavengerworld.net, which recently we completely overhauled the website, so it looks all new and pretty now. But Scavenger, for those who don't know, it will be a 5th edition setting, and it's also an art book, and it's also just an overall, fantasy project, which is like Bronze Age plus punk rock plus apocalypses plus Planescape plus a bunch of other weird stuff. And then you go around and you play with it. So go check it out. It's really cool stuff. And I think Mike is a very beautiful person. Just want to put that out there too.
And finally, I actually have something that I want to plug, and this is going to be the first point that I'm plugging this, because I literally, during this game, just got the confirmation that it's almost 100% certain this item will be for sale on DriveThruRPG tomorrow. So make sure you go to right here at MTDJake on Twitter, at MTD_Jake on Twitter. Follow everybody here, but I will have the links when they're available. I am publishing my very first published adventure in association with the Arcane Library, Berling's Beard, and Sharang Biswas. It is called The Adventure Mixtape, a music and adventure anthology. There are 4 adventures that are all, they're set up in a way that you can run them from a low-level adventure all the way through to a mid-level adventure. Mine is 3rd to 4th. They have some things that tie them together, or you can pull out whichever ones you want. But you can have the political intrigue of the Arcane Library's Treaty of the Tiger King, the trip to the zoo that is bound to be anything but ordinary with Berling's Beard's Madness of the Majestic Menagerie, the pulp action adventure of which Marquise was one of the original, technically, playtesters of Gorillas in Their Midst, my adventure. And yes, Marquise, you are in there in the acknowledgement section for that. And finally, Sharang Biswas has the characters participating in the mystery and intrigue around a fashion show in the city being run by a tiefling, and it is called the Infernal Collection. We have music tracks that accompany these, where there are downloads within the adventure module. This module is over 80 pages of adventure. And like I said, follow me on MTD_Jake on Twitter. I believe tomorrow, but definitely this week, I will have the link where you can go and get your own copy, because I would love to see other people running these adventures, and see what people think of it. Go ahead.
Okay if I pirate your adventure?
I have you don't need to pirate it, Marquise.
I'm pirating it anyway.
Don't pirate my adventure. But yeah, I had a lot of fun working with Kelsey, Ken, and Sharang over the summer as we put this project together. I'm excited. Just today, I got to see the layout of my first ever published adventure laid out in adventure form. So I'm really excited about it. And that's kind of that push I needed to start writing some of these other adventures like Tomb of the Mummy Lord and Professor Corsair's Magical Miracle Beard Oil, and some other stuff that are original content that I've created over the years to allow you to run them at your own games, at your own tables. So that's what I'm going to plug. Also, as numerous of us have said, tune in tomorrow night to Mini Terrain Domain for the Kryphoth game that we are running on the Monday night game. Be sure to tune in on Thursday nights for our Sunless Citadel campaign, which is going to morph into the Forge of Fury campaign. But it's DM Scotty, Megan, Vanessa V from the Crafting Muse, and Jeremy Lilly from Erasmus Expeditions. It's an amazing, just perfect storm of audience involvement, as well as just, we kind of mix good heavy RP with a little bit of that beer and pretzels table talk kind of game, and we just have fun with it. So I invite you to tune in on Thursdays at 8:30 for that as well. Again, check out everything these guys are doing. Go to DriveThruRPG. While you're there buying my module, pick up a copy of Kryphoth for yourself. Go to Marquise, plug that website one more time.
Scavengerworld.net.
Scavengerworld.net. So with that, we are going to head on out of here, but we are going to end this stream just like we end every stream, and you can say it with me if you want. Metadata.